anybody wants to begin with entrepreneurship, and especially, because we are catering to a female audience, any female entrepreneur who wants to begin her journey, what is the first step that she should take? So, when did you get your first employee or your team member, first team member? How much does the agency get in revenue every month?
To put a number to it, on retainer basis, we do around.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Female Founders Podcast. And I have a very special guest with me. And let me tell you, this podcast is special because behind the scenes, Prerna just told me that this is her first podcast, which is really special for me. We have a few things in common. I am from Delhi. She's from Delhi as well. Both our mothers are into handicraft, which we figured out once we started talking. And we both run a marketing agency. So there's so much to talk about. Welcome to the show, Prerna.
Thank you, Manmeet. Thank you so much. Yes, it is my
Yes,
first.
yes, I'm so excited for this one. And before we begin, I'd also like to add Prerna is the founder of Pole Brick Social that helps clients like AEC and real estate clients in their marketing, which we'll dwell into because this niche is also new to me. So I will be learning a lot in this podcast as well. So let's start, shall
Absolutely.
we?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's start with the most basic question. Why did you get into entrepreneurship?
Oh, I think that's a if I really have to like break it down to one simple answer, I realized that there is a lot more impact that I can bring when I am into entrepreneurship rather than being in a job. It's not like I've not done I've done plenty of jobs. In fact, I wanted to find that job that serves the purpose of serves a bigger purpose basically, and I was not able to do that. So it was not a decision that I made. It was more like a decision that I came to after a lot of filtrations that, okay, probably through this route, I can have a bigger and a better impact, at least within the industry that I can serve into. So that's how entrepreneurship happened to me. I think it happens to a lot of people, it just happens to you because there's an
Right.
idea and you're not able to find that fit for yourself in the industry. And then you went on to create things for yourself.
Absolutely. But I think that you consciously took that decision to be an entrepreneur and your intention was very meaningful behind it because for a lot of people, I'll honestly say, even my idea back then when I started entrepreneurship was that it has more profits, it has more money. Being a founder, you get more money, which has absolutely
Absolutely.
broken down for me now
Right.
when you're starting out
Right.
especially.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
I think you're one of very few people who have given me an answer that you were finding that right fit and you began with an intention. So I think that's a very important lesson that I've learned in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
There was this person that I met during. I changed a lot of jobs to be able to, find that fit that I'm talking about. And I stumbled upon this guy who uh, told me he asked me what all have you done or what are you into, and I could not give a one line answer to him. And I was like, "Do you have like 10 minutes? I can explain it to you in 10 minutes what all I have done or what I aspire to be." So it's like, yeah, you have all the time. And at the end of this conversation, he was like, you know who we are? We are the misfits. And misfits are the ones who can fit into everything, but they just keep on, trying to have more meaning to what they work every day. So that really stuck with me, and I think it's still in my mind. And yeah, that really brought a certain direction to that misfit idea. That okay, it's fine to be that. If at the end of the day you're really happy doing what you're doing and also able to make certain impacts on that.
Absolutely. I love that idea of misfit. That's a new learning for me. So tell us about your journey. How did you start and what kind of qualification did you get? And then your journey to entrepreneurship and how did you begin your agency? Quite a big question, I think. But
Right, absolutely. So I think from the time I was in 10th grade or 11th grade, I was very clear that I want to get into architecture. I don't know where I don't have a point memory of where it went into me, but I was very clear in my 10th standard that I want to pursue architecture. And that's how I started, building on my subjects. I took physics, I took maths. So to make sure that I qualify for the exams that are required in the country. Um, and then I studied architecture. Architecture is a 5-year course. It is as big as studying MBBS.
yeah.
But when I was in during my architecture years, we have to get internships, and I was fortunate enough to be interning under the chief architect of Chandigarh for 6 months. So, but there I realized that I the idea of design or the creativity doesn't come naturally to me. This is something that is skill based, but there are a few people who are just absolutely creative. They just know the foundation, they're born with that foundation and they nurture on it. And I don't have that in me. So possibly I can still reach that level, but I'll have to do a lot more learning to get there. So at that point, I started thinking, is there anything else that I could do within the architecture industry that could have a bigger impact? Architecture in itself has a real big impact. Where you're sitting right now is part of somebody's architecture. It's an everyday
Yeah.
part of our life, and we don't realize it. It's the meaning of life that through work that we're talking about. Architecture in itself is that. But within that, I was trying to find my own, niche, my own fit. Um, After that internship, I realized, okay, I will give myself. I had completed my architecture. I had, done a lot of creative stuff. I also talking about this creativity. I always wanted to be a part of competitions, national competitions. But again, that creativity was not really natural to me. So what I used to do is I used to, push my peers as well that, hey, you should participate. And I was, backpacking on them that through their creativity, I might also get that opportunity. So there was one time we did came to a point. There's a very it's a huge event now. It's called ID, India Design ID. It's done by
Oh,
L Decor and Asian Paints. So back, I think 10 years ago, I'm talking about, they introduced a competition which was based on the selection was based on one of the sketches that has to be submitted. This was so sketch was not mine; it was my peer. But eventually, all four of us had an opportunity to go to that competition and do something about it. So I did a lot of that stuff. And in the middle of it, I realized, okay, I can either talk and make people realize, oh, you can do that or you can do that. Or while I was also in college, I was very inclined towards writing about architecture, about
right.
documenting stuff. So I was writing for a magazine. I was writing for smaller blogs. I started there. I was still exploring the idea. So I realized by the end of architecture, either I'll write or I will speak about architecture, and that is a zone where I'm really comfortable in. Then cut to like a year or two after architecture, I did like multiple jobs as an architect, as a healthcare designer, as a business developer with a kitchen brand, as business developer with a furniture brand, still trying to find out what I want to do. And in the middle of all of this, I worked with a firm which was organizing architectural tours for the architectural kids or the students in the parts of India where normally people would not go. So the focus was the indigenous architecture, like the architecture of Himachal. People don't really know about. There are possibly 3, 4 people who are still talking about. There's this architect called Rahul Bhushan, and he is doing great work to preserve the technology. I would not say technology; it's a technique actually. It's an indigenous technique to be able to still build on those lines. So with this organization, we started going to places like Bhuj. We started going to and to give you an example, in Bhuj we did a case study where we realized why a circular house didn't fall during the 2002 earthquake, and all the entire Bhuj was in like Rambles. So all of those studies went into it, and I was really enjoying with this group because the meaning, the fit was I was getting it there. Like there's a greater meaning to it. We are reviving the history. We are trying to document it so the generations to come can study about it. And then came the COVID. So the travel industry was the first one to hit. I was actually on one of the tours to East India when COVID hit. It was about learning about art of the East India, Odisha, Jharkhand. And we used to invite people from all over, in not just India, like people from Bangladesh also used to come to us.
Yeah.
And I used to be one of the organizers for them. So everything that gets into the recce of it, learning more about the art forms that are lesser known, about culture. So that really got me into it. After that, the COVID hit and everything just went online. And that is when I gave it a very deep thought that, well, what should I be doing now? That is when I took up the writing part of, where I was inclined towards. I used to write for Deccan Herald magazine. They used to have a supplement called Home and Interior. So used to write a column for them, and I was really happy they were giving me 1,000 rupees a check, which used to be credited 45 days later. But I was really happy writing about architecture and all of that. Then after COVID, I thought that I should be like all the architects. The vision basically was that if I'm sitting in a cafe and I really like the space, and I'm deliberately going on Google and searching for who the architect or the interior designer is, I should be able to get that name. Basically, getting the
Right.
architects known or the interior designers known.
Right.
Um, and this is actually a real story. I was sitting in a cafe in Gurgaon and I just couldn't find who has made or who has designed this cafe. So I saw the opportunity there. I saw the writing that can happen there. I realized there's a long gap between the publications and the architects who are actually doing the work. And that is the
Right.
gap I have, tried to penetrate, which is we started with getting the publications for the architects. We started with everybody I knew from college, like, okay, they have opened up a
Yeah.
firm, so let me do that publication for you. It started growing from there. My freelancing journey started growing from there. And as it was growing, the demands of the services was also growing because social media marketing was another thing that was on
Yeah.
the desk. Then all the architects really wanted to be part of these juries that happens for architecture events. Then awards are there. And then, of course, the publications are there. So, publication was the first service that we started providing, PR and publication. Now it has grown into the full agency that it is right now. We are a team of seven, eight people. Half of them is in Mumbai, half of them is in Delhi. Um, and it's a full set of services that we provide. We have around 20 clients on board right now. Other than that, we're also providing publication as a very separate service. We have grown to the entire AEC market where we are catering to the products also, products like furniture, anything that falls under the umbrella of infra or AEC. AEC is basically architecture, construction, and engineering. It's an abbreviation of it. And but at the core of it, it's still my heart is at with the architects because I want to. There's a whole vision that is attached to it. So yeah, that's the story of how it got here.
Absolutely. I think it has been a continuous improvement and a ladder step that you've
Absolutely,
taken one after another, figuring out along the way that what is need to be done. And I'm sure you're figuring
absolutely,
out yet. Like there's still a lot to go, and
absolutely,
the uh,
absolutely,
yeah, the conscious thing of okay, whether this is going to work out, how we are going to go forward is still going on, and will go on until your business, keeps growing.
absolutely,
That's like a continuous
absolutely.
process. But I'd like
Learning
to
is
take
always
you.
continuous. Yes,
Absolutely. I'd like to take you a little back towards the start of your story where you mentioned about your internship. And I would want to know to everyone who's listening to this, as they graduate out of college or whether they are in college, everyone's looking for internships. But what is the right way to get an internship or how to approach that? Which place should I be working for?
if you talk about right now, like the industry, right, everything is it's all digital.
Yeah.
I completed my degree not long ago. I completed in 2015. Even then, the things were not so digitized.
Right.
Everything has gone digital now. I think the best way to get in touch or to get noticed is the ADA method, which is the top of the funnel, which is to get that attention.
Right.
How to get that attention is you'll get that internship, but you need to showcase your work. You need to. I'm not saying you have to just be out there. Be on Behance. Just showcase your work so nicely and so appropriately in terms of the application that it could have. Like for example,
Right.
even if you're doing a branding and you that's your assignment to do, but showing it like, hey, this is the logo that we'll use it, but showing it on a product is another experience altogether. So to
Right.
elevate and skill up in terms of how the portfolio is made, that's one thing for sure. The person should be able to connect with you without even talking to you through your work, which is your portfolio. Be it an online portfolio, be it in a PDF. Be as tech savvy as possible, but your portfolio has to speak for yourself. That's one thing.
Absolutely.
Uh, Second is that even as a student, you have so many opportunities out there which the college will not serve you on a plate. You have to look
Yeah.
for those opportunities. And you have to, there's no winning or there's no losing. You really have to just be there, be a part of a certain event, be a part of, let's say, a conference. You have to be out there. There are 10,000 people applying for the same position. Why is the answer? Like, you have to answer that why for yourself.
How do you
So you really
stand
have to
out?
stand out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is the why. Now, if I talk about architecture, what a lot of students have been doing, which I really like, is they're using Instagram as a platform to showcase their work, and the page only talks about their portfolio. It's nothing about them. It's nothing about it has nothing to do with their personal life. It is their portfolio, and when they pitch out to any of the firms or any of the architects, that is the link that they share. They don't really have to share 25 MB ka PDF. Hey,
Right.
that
Right.
also means that hey, we are also tech savvy. We know how Instagram also works. We know
Yeah.
how things look, in a certain way. So that talks a
This
lot about it.
This actually reminds me of a story that went viral. I think it happened a couple of years ago. I don't really know. There was this girl who got placed in Microsoft or Google, I think, and she
Yeah,
had
I know
given
the
her
story.
resume in the. And I also went, and when the story went viral,
Yes,
I went to her
yes, yes,
Instagram
yes.
and saw she had, placed her resume like a staircase and just put it all together. And company, I
Right.
don't remember the name of the company, but I think
It
as
was
big as
Deloitte. Yeah,
Oh, Deloitte. So, as
yeah,
big as
yeah.
that company selected a girl on the basis of her Instagram posts.
Absolutely,
So, that's the kind of
absolutely.
creativity we need to bring on the table to stand
I
out.
know that woman. I've seen her journey. She is a
Oh,
marketing consultant today, and she's huge in the industry. So she made a
yeah,
mark right there when she made
right.
that portfolio, and
With the
it still
beginning.
is yeah, it still is something that has been like massively covered in newspaper. All the media mentions everything is
Right,
there about that particular article. Yeah, it does make a
right.
mark. Absolutely. Then of course there are traditional ways of how to reach out to an HR, how to reach out to the company, but everybody's doing that part.
Yeah.
Everybody know how to do that part, how to write a cold email, how to possibly in my case what happened was it was since I was applying for a government internship, it was more of walk-in interviews and all of that,
Yeah, yeah.
and you have to do that kind of hard work. Everybody does that hard work, but at the same time you have to stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now I'll take you a little further in your journey where you mentioned about that you did, multiple jobs before you actually came to entrepreneurship and you came to business. My question would be a lot of people, have this common question, which I am asked at times, but I would want to know what are your thoughts on that. If somebody is an entrepreneur at heart, has a good message to share, and maybe has a plan, should they directly jump to entrepreneurship or going to internship, going to a job, and then going to a business is a set strategy and one should follow it? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I really feel that you need to be prepared before jumping into entrepreneurship. And what do I mean by prepare is that when you're running your own firm, there are 7, 8 departments that you have to handle. There is finance, there is leave aside what you are actually, giving out as a service. Other than that, I think I have come up to you so many times. How do you handle your finances? So you
Yeah.
have to handle the HR, you are the finance guy, you are the HR guy, you are the marketing guy, you are the personal branding for yourself. and then you have to set up the systems, you have to set up the SOP. There's a lot, and it becomes overwhelming at times. It
Right.
definitely and surely helps if you know how to manage any of, four or five of these departments. So you're able to set that departments for yourself and then focus on other things. As an entrepreneur, what I really miss is when I was freelancing, I was doing I was marketing, I was in the publications, as an entrepreneur, I think it has been over a month that I've not gotten into writing stuff because so many other things take up your time. So yes, it
Absolutely.
definitely absolutely helps if you know how to set up any of this system before jumping into it. Of course, you can learn during the process. It'll only take a little more time. And if you have
Absolutely.
done that kind of internship or if you have done that kind of job, the number of jobs that I changed actually was really helpful when I was building my own business. I knew how a team building has to be done. I knew how an HR would work in my office. So a few of the things were taken care of. And a few of the things I'm learning, like I'm still learning about finance. I'm still learning about how to. In fact, I'm still every CA that I talk to, I'm like, please don't judge me. I have very little knowledge.
But that's okay. That's
But
not
yeah,
our job. We are not
that's
an
a part.
expert there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. But that's a part of the journey. That's fine. And
Right.
as an entrepreneur, it's really important to first acknowledge the fact that your learning will never end, and that's okay. And that's the
Absolutely.
way. That's the only way forward.
Right.
Because if you think even for like a day that you know everything, that is when, things starts falling apart. For
Yes,
me, at least.
absolutely. Yeah, I think my one of the favorite quotes that I've also, recently published on LinkedIn is about if you're smartest in the room, then you're in the wrong room. We
Absolutely,
definitely
absolutely, 100%. I agree to it. Initially, what was happening when I was, transitioning from freelancer to an agency, I was having a really hard time with delegation of tasks because you always think that how do I tell them or how do I make sure that they do the same task in the same way that I am doing?
right. That efficacy and
And
that efficiency.
absolutely. And you need to have that kind of passion and vision as well. Like, yeah, fine, it's my vision that I want to, at least I want thousands architects in the country to be known at a certain level. But it's not theirs. Theirs is that we are coming to a job and we are getting
Yeah.
paid for it. I'll do a decent job. That's it, I'm going home. And that's not unfair of them to ask. So
Yeah.
there's always, and then comes the part where I'm talking about the team building. So that is really important, and that's like absolutely non-negotiable. I would miss a client call if my team call is really important. So
Yeah.
that is how
That's
I
big.
always try to balance. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Because if I realize if I don't have my team in place and if I have to keep, shifting between people, I would never come to a point where I can satisfy the client. And
Right.
that would only mean for me that, I'm always on a lookout for more clients and the cycle will never end. If I have a really good team in place, even though it takes like years to build, it's all worth it. And in
Yeah.
fact, the hiring part, there's a nice story about the hiring as
Yeah.
well.
I will
So
come to that. I have questions
yes,
about that. I'll
absolutely,
come to
yes,
that.
absolutely,
So
absolutely, yes,
we'll go step by step, and I'll come to the next part of your
yes,
journey where you thought of getting into entrepreneurship, you thought of building a business and building an agency. But I'm sure that there would have been some resistance, either from your friends or maybe family, thinking about, oh, you're quitting your job, you're quitting something that is stable income, and now you're jumping into entrepreneurship, which we don't know is going to build or not. So was there, because I would not want to, set it straight, but was there any kind of resistance? And if there was, how did you handle it? And if there was not, then help us that how to, that journey, take us through that journey.
sure, absolutely. So I think this resistance is something that my mother faced in her phase of, the jobs.
Yeah.
Um, and she basically made sure that it didn't transfer to any of her kids, be it me or be it my brother. So, but the only baseline was that we have to take care of our own expenses. So even if we were
Yeah.
getting out of the stable job, we either have to come down to like very less expenses for ourselves for basic survival, or we have to make up that money so that we are able to, do
Yeah.
whatever we want to. So that was the baseline, and that has been like the center of the support system.
Yeah.
In fact, my brother also started his business, his entrepreneurship journey really late in his life, but it was all support.
Yeah.
We both of us never faced any sort of resistance, or even if there was any kind of resistance that is coming out from, the society and everyone, it was there was this whole shield around us always, and
Yeah.
that
And that's
never
important.
came to us. That's really important.
Yeah.
That's absolutely important. So for her, it was like I went through something and I faced XYZ things. I don't want them to go through the same thing. So how about let's support them? But
Yeah.
also set the base rules right. That I will
Right.
not be the one who will take care of your expenses. You will be the one who have to do that. Otherwise, what her thought process was that if it is given a free hand, that okay, fine, you are, in your 20s, stay at home, whatever you want to do, you will lose out on the prime years of your life and you will not even go and
Absolutely.
experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like
Possibly
a
that
safe
was
cushion. There's a safe
absolutely,
cushion.
yes,
अरे कुछ हुआ तो
yes.
मम्मी पापा हैं.
Correct. So she
Yeah.
didn't want to give that safe cushion to us at all. But at the same time, she wanted to push us just enough that we are able to make sure that we will make it, to have that faith in ourselves. Of
Absolutely.
course, there were
Absolutely.
down points. There was always deadlines that I was giving to myself, that if I don't get two clients by December this, so I will take up a job in January this. Of course, that is
That
also
always happens.
that's how we kept pushing, because it was made sure that the cushion is not there, but okay, you can do whatever you want to. So
Yeah.
there was no resistance, but there were rules definitely, and I think that really pushed us to a level where we are. It helped us push a notch more than what we could have.
Yeah. And how did you prepare for this transition? Like, once you were quitting your job and starting your business, how was the financial planning and how did you transition?
Um, so while COVID hit, when I was with this firm doing the trips, I really was just, dumping money in my savings account. I was not putting the money to use. So
Yeah.
when COVID hit, uh, it was a matter of possibly 4 or 5 months that I would have run out of that saving. That is when it stuck to me that you have to make your money also work for you. You
Yeah.
just can't keep working for the money. Like, of course, you should be doing that, but your work should have greater reason than just, money keep coming in. Money is really important. I'm not denying any of that. It's
Absolutely, I agree with you.
absolutely,
Money is, I think, a
it,
byproduct, but what you work for is that long, horizon, that intention that you talked
absolutely
about in the starting of the podcast. Is because
right, right,
I
right.
always repeat this one thing that, in my career, when I was starting in the beginning, as long as I was chasing money, I was getting nothing of it. As soon as I
Hmm.
shifted my focus and I stopped chasing money, suddenly money started chasing me and it started
Right,
pouring in, left, right, and center. So I think
right.
absolutely, money is a byproduct. That's what we want, and money is a medium to live our life luxuriously.
Absolutely,
But then, if you work
absolutely,
for the money, it never comes in. Like, it is
absolutely,
always that
absolutely.
when you work harder for a reason, for a purpose, the money is going to come to you. So I'm absolutely on the same
100%.
page. Yeah.
100%. I completely agree. I think that is when I realized I need to, divide my funds into different funds. I need to have some sort of SIP going on so that there's
Yeah.
some saving for a time like this could occur anytime. Like a time like COVID could come any moment. We don't know. It's very uncertain now, in fact. So we have to be prepared for that uncertainty. And at the same time, I was able to, as I told, that I was able to, get in touch with a few of my college peers. That hey, you have opened up a firm. How about I do this for you? So any money that was coming from that was also put into some sort of use. Travel was not happening, so there was no travel funds happening. It was more
Yeah.
like health. I All the healthcare was initially taken care of. I was very particular about that. The two or three things is something that my parents did, push me to. One was healthcare. Insurance has to be there. No, you should not be a single day without the insurance because that
Yeah.
single day can bring you down.
Yeah.
That is one thing.
Yeah.
So it was always there. As soon as I started earning, possibly by 25 or 26, that was the first thing I got my, put my money into. Second part was that my parents did, push me to open PPF account. I didn't understand all of that. So I was more like, okay, if you are saying I'll do that. And a few RDs there and a few FDs there. But all of this few here and there is not financial planning, is something I understood after COVID. So post that, transitioning from freelancer into agency was actually not on the books. It really started happening gradually. And in terms of finances, there was no additional financial planning that I had to put in place because of the understanding that I have gotten after COVID of how to manage money, have some sort of SIPs. If even if trading is not something that you have to put, your head to, you just have to be really, you have to know where your expenses are. You have to know where your money going. If on a certain day or a certain month you say this word कि अरे मुझे तो पता ही नहीं चला मेरे पैसे कहाँ गए. That is where you have to sit and realize, oh, where did I go wrong? I need to know this. Because at the end of the day, if it is not managed, it will not be managed for the rest of your life. And you'll not even realize 30 years down the line that, oh, if I would have, put that 10K per month in X thing, I would have, had that. You always get this, there's always quotes coming in, ki, if I would have put money in crypto, then I would have had this much now. You you can't do that now. You can't undo. But what you can do is start today. So that's that's the additional thing that I started doing.
Absolutely.
That really helped me transition into the agency. Agency it was more like I was working with other freelancers, and there was a lot of
Yeah.
people that I was coordinating. So agency was the next logical step into my freelancing
Right.
journey, and it was also serving the vision that I always had. So it was a very seamless, journey from being a freelancer to having an agency. What was not seamless was thinking of a name, getting it registered, all of this GST registrations, everything that you again learn while in the process of it. Is
Yeah.
something that everybody
Keep
has to
figuring
deal with,
out.
and they're
Keep
not.
figuring
Yeah,
out.
you keep figuring out. Yeah,
Yeah.
you talk to other people, and you're like, "How did you do it? I want some help," and that's how you just figure out.
Yeah. So let's talk about your firsts. Okay, since this is the first. So, when did you get your first employer or your team member, first team member?
So I was working with So I had a team of two people initially. Not a team, I would not say a team, but we were all freelancers. I was also freelancer. I was freelancing more work for copywriting, and I was freelancing more work for graphic designing. So it was just team of three freelancers working together. Um, and when I was transitioning into my agency, both of them fell sick, and like both of them had some chronic problem. One had a back problem, and another was going through a mental issue. So both of them needed breaks from their lives, of like the professional break. And I was left with clients and nobody to work with. So, but by then I had, figured out how and in which direction I can look for people. Um, it was through a lot of freelancer groups. It was through a lot of networking. But I had realized because my ask was also very specific that it's great if somebody's from an architecture background, but also has interest in writing, but also has interest in graphics, but also knows how to edit, like different profiles. But it's a little specific ask. So one thing was that I started building on my LinkedIn as well back then, and I made sure that my LinkedIn network was around these architecture people who are either architects or into different fields, but they are related to the architecture. So even if today I post a query of a job or if I post a query of a certain person that I want in the team, part-time or full-time, I get a lot of queries from them because of the network that I've been able to set on LinkedIn, very specific of who I'm accepting as a connection. Um, then while I was transitioning into the agency, I got this first person on board, and she was also through of one of the freelancer group. But it was how I was hiring was always on the gut feeling. It was never on the basis of course, the I was seeing the work, I was looking at it, I was looking for how they're standing apart from the crowd. So this particular woman, she had a website of her own which was her portfolio basically, which really did stand out to me because a lot of people again were sending me PDFs. So I understood, yes, she understands the basic of website as well. So that really, stood out for me, and it has been what possibly a year or more than a year that we are still working together. Um, and she, in fact, is running the operations now. She's been able to handle all of that. She started as a part-time. I always give my employees this 2 or 3 months time, 45 days, to see if they also fit in and to see that how I feel about them as well. Because I can't, you know, it sounds a little, um, it's not shallow, but the vibe has to match. If
Yeah,
if the
absolutely. I think
vibe,
that is
if
important.
yeah, absolutely. And when she was on board, she was bombarded with work because my other two, freelancers have gone. But she just maneuvered through it, and that was a really big green flag for me. And while she was on board, I started looking for other people to join my team. Then somebody from an architecture background came in, and she's like, "I like to write," and we did a few tests, articles and everything. And again, she's also still on board. um, then the third hiring, which was a full-time hiring, was done of a video editor. This was quite interesting actually. So a client work came up, and I started looking for a freelancer to cater to that client work. So I stumbled upon her, and the deadline was really tight. And I was like, "Will you be able to do that?" She's like, "Yeah." The only thing I knew about her was that her name is this. That's it. I didn't get into how her work is, what she does, where is she from, nothing. The only question was, "Will you be able to pull this off?" She's like, "Yes." So that yes was so confident. I was like, "Okay, let's go with the guts. Let's see what happens." She was able to deliver that, and I was in conversation with her to deliver more stuff, which had a bigger deadline, which like the deadline was not so close. So while I was having that conversation with her, in the middle of the conversation, I was like, "Would you want to be a part of the team?" So there was this silence, and she's like, "I don't know." So I'm like, "Yeah, I this can come up, as this could throw you off this question right now in the middle of the conversation, but you just think about it." And I told her about our agency, then I told her about where we are based out of. She told her about herself, and she's the third person that came on board and has been there for a longer time. Then we recently have, a couple of more people joining it. So it's always the the vibe has to match, the guts have to match. Apart from the experience that they bring in, they, of course, they have to be good at what they do. I don't want to hold their hand and tell here, the editing has to be this way or the color correction has to be that way. That's your job,
Right.
and it has to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
right.
yeah.
My job is to bring in clients, and I'll keep doing that. Your
Right.
job is to, make sure that the onboarding is done right. Your job is to get the copywriting done right. Your job is to get the editing done right. I don't want to get in. Yes, I oversee everything, but possibly a year down the line, I don't want to oversee as well. I want to have
Yeah.
possibly a head of operations or head of, marketing, copywriting, and they are managing it, and I just want to, have that connection with the head. So that
Yeah.
will possibly free up more of my time, and then I can, think of putting other ventures, that side ventures that always are in the background to
Yeah.
place. So
And that's when
yeah,
you actually transition as a business owner. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
And let us, just spill the secret right here. And if you would want to share that, how much does the agency get in revenue every month?
To put a number to it, on retainer basis, we do around 2 lakhs a month. A little over 2 lakhs plus the GSTs and everything.
Okay.
Um, but also since we have started providing services as an individual service as well, we are targeting to have around 4 clients, not more than 4 clients in a week for publication. And we offer them right now, the offer is around 25K. We'll possibly increase it because the demand is really high. But we're still setting up that, the procedure right. We know how to get it done, but to be able to document it is another story. Like have that SOP right,
Right, right. Having the systems
possibly
in
have a
place.
yeah,
Yeah,
possibly have a closer in place and possibly have a salesperson in place so that it all automates in itself.
right.
If you go to the market, people would, I think they would be charging 40K or something around it for one project we are talking about. So that brings in another additional lakh in the agency a month.
Right,
So
right,
3.2 is something that we're doing right now. By
right.
next in a month, so by next year we are aiming that we cross 10, and
Yeah,
then we'll see. As we say that 0 to 1 is another journey, 1 to 100 is another,
right.
and 100 and
Exactly.
beyond is another journey. So when we
Right.
start doing 10 lakhs a month, then it'll be another journey altogether. So
Absolutely.
that is
And
what is
also,
happening right now. Hmm.
there are these two questions that I ask towards the end of the podcast to everyone. So the first question would be that if anybody wants to begin with entrepreneurship, and especially, because we are catering to a female audience, any female entrepreneur who wants to begin her journey, what is the first step that she should take?
Look for a mentor. No,
Oh,
but there will be,
nice.
if you actually look for a mentor, if you reach out to, it's not hard to reach out to people in the digital age. If somebody wants to reach out to you, then they can absolutely just drop you a message on LinkedIn, and even if you don't notice it, they can still get in touch with you. There are tons of ways to do that. 10 people, 11 people, 20 people, reach out to them. You'll definitely find that one person who will be a great mentor to you. Even if they are not great, they'll help you start your journey. And that's really
Absolutely.
important. The
Yeah.
start is the most tough part. Then you'll realize it's a journey where the graph is not this, the graph is this. It's a wave. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
would say have that mentor. Try
Yeah.
to find that mentor for yourself, and as early as your in your entrepreneurship journey as possible.
Absolutely. I think I say that mentors are the cheat codes. Like follow
They
their
are
path and
absolutely,
move
yeah,
fast, get success
absolutely,
fast.
absolutely. Entrepreneurship in
Um,
itself, if you are just there by yourself, it's a little lonely journey. It's always great to have a group of people around who are going out doing the same thing, or to have a mentor who's at least telling you it's fine. Let me help you with it. It's fine. Something like this happens. And sometimes it's not about work. It's about the mindset as well. That is when that is the most when you need that mentor.
Absolutely. And I think now I'm going to throw you the biggest question that I always ask, and I don't know how the answer is going to be. That a lot of times female entrepreneurs are not given the kind of support, the encouragement, and the path that they need to pursue their career. And especially this comes from our nears and dears in the society and the relatives. So how did did anything of this sort happen with you, and what are your thoughts on that? Like, as a female entrepreneur, what are the dynamics about being a female founder?
Right. So I know a lot of females around me, not like in the entrepreneurship journey, basically. Um, my journey has been a notch easier, I would say, because of the family support that I always had. Um, a lot of people around me don't have that family support, and it takes a toll on your head, 100%. The way forward is to be, you know, I'm not in their shoes, so I don't know if this applies to them or not. But for me, the way forward is to, when people are saying things to you, you have to be that horse, in that race, which has two things around. Yeah, absolutely, that horse. Because even if I totally feel that if there would have been a guy or a man who is into the construction, who's on the construction site, um, he's perceived very differently by the people who are working there than a female architect who's there. Um, Luckily, I have established myself in a field where this disparity is a lot less. In all honesty, it's not as much as it is in, let's say, corporates, or as I just meant give you an example. But I think the only way forward is to just keep looking at your goal. There will always be people who will keep saying things. People would love to be your friends when you are at your highest, but they would never be there when you're in that difficult journey. So always remember the people who are there in that journey. And regardless of the gender doesn't matter. The people who are on that journey with you, never leave those hands. They will still be
Absolutely.
there. They'll still be there once you have reached those height. But once you are at that height, there'll be tons of other noises as well. But
Absolutely. I think the one liner that I've picked up is become a horse.
become a horse, become the horse that runs in the race. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. It's difficult to implement because I've
Yeah.
seen my friends around me, and a few of them have even crumbled in the pressure that they receive from
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
family and peers. And I am in a privileged position to be able to sit here and say this, that you have that focus and keep running. For a few, it's not possible. I completely get it
Absolutely.
because the
Yeah.
mental pressure is such. But
Correct.
ask for help, look for help. You'll
Yeah.
always find. There was this one saying in the school, I think it's from the Bible, I'm not sure, but it says that it meant was seek and you shall find. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't look for things, you will never find it. And if you
Absolutely.
start looking, you'll absolutely find it. So if you're looking for that mental peace, that zone where there's no pressure, look for it. You will find that 10 people will turn you down, not 100. Like there'll be a
Right.
100 person, there'll be a person who'll be like, okay, come, let's have this journey together. So
Right.
talk to people around you. Don't keep suffering in your head, and absolutely have that focus towards your vision. And it's really important to have that vision. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it's really difficult to wake up in the morning and be like, "Kya karna aaj?"
Right. Absolutely. This has been a beautiful and insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Prerna.
Thank you,
We will
Manmeet, for
definitely
having me.
thank you. We'll definitely have your LinkedIn, your website mentioned in the description. Anybody who wants to reach out to you, learn from you, or maybe do business with you would definitely reach out to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Manmeet. Thank you.